Hello, and welcome to Outside the Zeitgeist, an opinion podcast presented by Mook Media. Please be aware that the opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of the host platform. Outside the Zeitgeist is funded by people like you, for some reason. And now, here are your hosts, Greg and Charles.
Okay, this is episode number 20 of Outside the Zeitgeist. I guess I'll stop doing my hand thing because it's not fitting on the camera that well. Once again, I am your resident misanthrope, Charles.
I'm your resident skeptic, Greg.
And joining us once again, we got Red. Say hello, Red.
Hello, darlings.
Cheers, Greg.
Cheers, Charles. Don't forget to dislike, subscribe, share, comment, and most importantly, dislike to share that the feeling is mutual.
Are you sloshed already?
I was like, wait a second. Alright, so let's get into the nightmare fuel.
No retakes here.
I'm gonna say it twice.
Okay.
It's worth mentioning twice.
Yeah, it is worth mentioning. Oh, actually, before we get into the nightmare fuel, we got comments.
Got comments.
Yeah,
did?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, we got two comments.
Comments.
Is one of them mine? No, I didn't make any comments.
Were they
Oh,
clever?
where the fuck did I put it?
Uh-oh.
There we go. So we got one from one person that said happy for me, which I guess we're supposed to be happy for him or her, whatever.
Or it.
It.
Cousin
Shim.
it.
So we got it. That was actually on my solo episode, but this one it was on BitChute from the I believe it was the War on the World's Words episode. No, actually I think it was 3 episodes ago, episode 17. Says, I think I just realized I may be something of a high-functioning autistic human for allowing this into my life cycle willing. I did get an emotional nut off on the voice of a skank, so fuck it. Y'all cool with me, man, so why not, Daddy? So, we are all for you making obvious bad decisions and admitting you're making obvious bad decisions.
Bad decisions are always good.
Yes.
Because they teach you how not to make them again. Except
in
Charles.
theory.
Charles always makes the same bad decision.
Wait, who's the skank with the voice, though?
Yeah, I think that's something that you said.
I did? I'm a skank. I love you back.
The wonderful Red.
the wonderful and talented and lovely Red. So now...
Go on.
So now we can get into the nightmare fuel. So what do you got, Greg?
First thing, I'm just keeping abreast of the situation in Arizona. And one of the things I had heard last week... I'm sorry.
You skipped that.
I did skip that. I saw...
Go with that first, and then
we'll
we'll
go
get
with that, and then we'll get into the other thing. Just keeping abreast of the situation, and the Democrats or the people who are fighting this tooth and nail, this entire audit, are saying that, well, you're screwing with the machines, so we're just going to have to toss them out and replace them with all new ones.
Gregory, may I ask a question?
Yes, Red.
Is that... So the Dems are saying the GOP got all their nasty Republican cooties all over the machines. They're now corrupted. We no longer trust those machines. Is that an admission that the machines are corruptible?
While I may agree that is an admission that they can be corruptible,
Curious that.
I also agree that it may be an admission that the machines were already corrupted.
Well, there is that too.
I thought our elections were safe from everybody except for Russians and 12-year-old girls from Florida.
Yes, that is exactly why we are looking into the absentee ballots of Georgia. And why, of course, you already mentioned something about it last week.
Well, who's going to protect us from the 12-year-old girls from Florida with a computer?
I know.
Greg will.
I know.
Greg will protect us.
That stud hanging Chad. Remember him from the Gore?
I saw some very interesting things about New Hampshire.
Uh-huh.
I know you mentioned something about it already, but
yeah, there was apparently this small town is supposed to overturn the entire election.
I looked into this. I saw specifics with it. Apparently, because of the folds, and this is the weirdest thing, the folds happen to go through a particular candidate who is in at a certain point on these sheets of paper.
Yeah,
so
usually listed second.
What was it?
Usually listed second.
I don't know, but when they fold it, apparently the machine is counting the fold as a mark, and what's happening is that they're either being counted instead of the actual vote on it, or there's so many votes on it that are being recorded now that it says you have too many votes. So
God bless people with autism. Only they can
Like our-
find this. At
like our
work,
commenter.
whenever at work I would have a very heavy audit, I had people in my team who required meds for OCD and shit. I would suggest to them, only partially joking, that they should kind of like hold back on their meds a little bit, just so they would be a little bit more meticulous, just to have that little extra of attention. So God bless the people with conditions like autism and OCD and so on, because it is
Absolutely.
those people who stay up all night, can't deal until they find it.
Thanks
I
for
love
reminding
you all.
me, Red.
I love you all.
I'm going to have to stop recording the show and start looking for it again.
no. You already found it in your mind.
Oh, is that what...
Yes.
I'm getting infected by psychosis again.
Oh yeah, in other election-related news and psychosis-inducing nonsense, the timelines and all of the information from January 6th keeps changing, and more information keeps getting revealed with regards to
Shut
this.
up, I'm looking for it.
No, you're not. Stop. Pay attention.
It's
is
the
your
time
fault.
warp.
Do you remember the guy that had the Viking helmet and his face?
The quote unquote QAnon shaman
Yeah, the face that
whose-
was painting in two colors.
whose
and all
lawyer
that. He
came
looked
out
like
and said that he
a
was,
football player.
I
fan.
saw that guy, and he was hot AF.
Well-
If you're hearing me out there, I want to rub your horns.
I watched a video. Ooh, wow! I watched a video last week that showed him, as well as a number of other what I would consider Republicans/conservatives, having a talk with one of the DC cops.
Yeah.
In the building.
Oh, yes, this video.
And they were like, okay, he's going to give us our time. We're going to be allowed to peacefully protest as long as we don't cause trouble or something to that effect. And, you know, the whole story about the one cop that got killed by
Which wasn't true because
not
he died
true
of
at all,
natural
not at all.
causes.
Poor
He
dear
did
had a
die,
stroke.
Unfortunately. Everything I keep hearing about this keeps leaning more in the direction of, well, actually, the people who were there were not as destructive as they looked, even though giant crowds always look destructive.
Fiery but peaceful protests
Yes.
without the fire.
Also interesting enough is the fact that there was I believe a Black Lives Matter individual who it came out that he brought a megaphone to the entire January 6th event just so he could instigate conservatives and Republican
Yep.
Trump supporters.
Yeah, I heard that from somebody that went there actually, and going back to the QAnon shaman, did you hear what his lawyer said about him?
What did he say?
So apparently his lawyer came out and as his defense is like, oh yeah, he's got all kinds of mental issues. He's not right in the head, this, that, and the other thing. And that's
a great defense.
That's the defense that the lawyer is going
That's a
with.
great
Did you have
defense.
something to add, Red?
No, it just passed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like
I was discreet about it.
And I'd like to remind all of our viewers at home, on the road, wherever you are, that conservatives were not responsible for $2.3 billion worth of damage last year. In fact, they didn't even cause that
Gregory,
much damage.
those are peaceful protests.
Fiery but peaceful.
Get your terms right.
That's why I said it
The
wasn't
peaceful
conservatives.
gathering
Conservatives did
of
not
patriots in D.C., that was an
cause
insurrection.
$2.3 billion.
No damage,
the
no
buildings
fires.
y'all are crying about for burning down, them buildings got life insurance, everything gonna be back.
Remember, buildings are people too. Much like corporations are people. They have life insurance for when things go south.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of $2 billion, apparently DC has given $2 billion more to the Capitol Police, or should I say Citadel Police?
You know, I just realized I made a mistake in my statement.
What?
Conservatives may have been responsible for more than $2.3 billion.
Oh, really? How so?
Explicitly, the conservative Republicans in government, they
Oh.
were responsible for passing sweeping laws of just making the money machine go burr and creating money.
Well-
so that will cause, I think, more damage than anything of last year.
Well,
Over the course of time.
I don't think that really has anything to do with their legislation. The Federal Reserve is an independent entity. It's not a governmental entity.
Sure.
And I'm guessing since you didn't pay attention to what I said last week, that you missed what I said last week or on the last episode about the Federal Reserve.
What did you say specifically?
That it made more profits than...
No, I remember talking to
Okay,
you
yeah.
about that. You told me about that.
Yeah, yeah.
But, I mean, I think that could be irresponsible damage. But, in other money creation news, France... I'm amazed that they are doing this. France is creating what is called a culture pass, in which they are going to give, I believe, teenagers and young adults, all the way up to like age 18, 300 euros to spend on culture, explicitly to spend on culture. The report that I heard was not specific about how they could spend this money, but it seemed to be you had to take the money and spend it either on tours of museums, buying art supplies, culture, real culture.
I just had a thought, because before I've talked about like the potential for UBI, and rather than having UBI, rather than being like a UBI, rather have it as a sort of a compensation for going and getting education. And now that I'm thinking about it, this seems sort of like that, right? Because if they're spending money to go to the if they're spending government money to go to museums and whatnot, then it is taking part in an educational process. So I think I initially when I heard about this, I was kind of like, oh, that seems kind of stupid. But now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, maybe not, because because it's not just handing people money; it's giving them money to do something specific with, and that involves education and whatnot. So this might actually be a beneficial thing.
It could. I don't see how it's going to. I mean, they have 2 years to use this 300 euros, so I can't imagine they'll spend it all in one
Well,
week.
it's another thing based on the individual, though. What do you got, Red?
I'm kind of curious, for those who do not use their 300 euros...
No, it disappears.
It disappears, right. So will they be able to engage in tracking to see, okay, where geographically was the money spent? Each debit card, I imagine.
Sure there are ways of tracking.
Yeah, that's going to be like a gold mine for data
but
scientists.
See, here's the thing, though, right? Because you have, and here's the other thing I'm thinking, because you have a way of just giving the money to the institution that's surviving this way. But instead of giving money straight to the institution, you're giving it to people to give. So it's kind of like the same way that the stimulus checks have been working here. So instead of just giving money to the rich corporations, they're just giving it to the people so that they can give it to the rich corporations.
It sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, well, it is. But in this case, if it is like a general thing, right, a general cultural educational thing, then I would say it'd actually be something beneficial, because instead of funneling money directly to these institutions, you're having it go through the people actually engaging with the institutions.
And they get to make decisions in the cultural market, right?
Yeah.
And reward those institutions that
But
are furnishing more value.
Why couldn't you instead of giving people that money, okay? Why couldn't it be instead that if you engage in these particular activities, we will take this much off of your taxes that you owe us at the end of the year?
Well, I mean, it's,
To me, I don't like the idea, especially after I've learned more and more about our current currency systems. I don't like the idea of just handing people money, because I don't believe that seems to actually solve any actual issues.
Well, no, but like I said, though, this isn't so much handing people money.
No. What I'm saying is, if let's say you tell everyone who's within that age group, you go to at least 3 museum tours in a given year,
right?
Okay, and we will reduce your total taxes owed by this much at the end of the year.
Yeah, but it's 12 eggs in one hand and one dozen in the other.
My thing is that I would rather see it that way, because you're not taking money, okay?
Yeah, but then
you're leaving it in the pocket of the individual, whereas this is you're explicitly creating, you're giving people money with the only way of
all you're really doing in that aspect is considering a positive as negative, or the other way around.
Right, but I can't spend that money on other things.
All right, real quick, what do you got, Red?
Well, this is exactly the same way that you can bust teachers' unions in the U.S. One big arrow in that quiver. In funding students instead of the school districts. Break the school monopolies and let students and parents decide where to go chase the value they seek in the schooling of students. I cannot wait to see the teachers' unions busted.
Well, I mean, when we talk about unions, that's a mixed bag. It's not a all one way or another thing. And
Fuck them.
Never is.
I mean, I wouldn't go so blanket with that because, I know some teachers and I've taught myself, and it's. Let me put it this way. Remember the days when we didn't have so many metrics counting everything, but teaching was better? And when I talk to teachers that I know, that seems to be the largest problem, is that they're being held accountable to these metrics that they have no control over. Like what's the test here in New Jersey?
They keep changing it every 10 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
the biggest, there's
But-
several rackets going on with teachers unions.
Well,
and
yeah,
one
but
of
you
them
have that.
and one of them is that you just can't fire bad teachers. You just can't.
Well, yeah, but then the other thing too is what determines a bad teacher. Because right now the metrics of what determines a bad teacher is whether or not they pass this ridiculous arbitrary test that doesn't really, well, ridiculous might as well be arbitrary test. So the only way most teachers nowadays protect their jobs is by teaching to this test that doesn't really account for anything.
And
a problem
or
with standards.
Right.
checking off some sort of ideological checklist that they've wokeified the
hold
curriculum.
hold off on that because we're going to come back to that.
Dang it.
It's an overall problem whenever you create standards.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's this whole idea. Like if you notice in society, the more we hold everybody accountable to these metrics,
Well,
the shittier everything gets. Why? Because the metrics are short-sighted.
Yes.
And they basically monolith people.
This is my argument that I've had with many people about just in general bureaucracy. Okay, bureaucracy creates an extra point between A to B, right? Suddenly between A and B, there's now a C.
Well, yeah, but then the question is, what is bureaucracy?
I'm talking about just the idea of creation of laws. And laws are also metrics in a certain standard.
The administration
as well.
and interpretation of those laws.
You try to create order,
Right.
quote unquote, within a given situation, you start standardizing certain things. Okay, a law for like speeds. Okay,
Right.
For example, our speed limit, if you go back 30 years, was probably around 45 miles per hour.
55 miles an hour.
35 years ago. Because
It was 55 miles an hour.
On the turnpike, when my parents were driving down, when we were visiting our cousins, okay, I remember the turnpike used to be 45 miles per hour. This is in the 90s, okay?
It
And eventually,
was?
it went up to 55 miles per hour. And I'm talking specifically Jersey.
Yeah,
okay?
that certain spots it was 45, but the majority of the turnpike was 55.
Yes, but now the entire turnpike,
It's
until
65.
you get up to about exit 13,
The
is
eastern and western
65.
spurs.
Then it becomes 55 for a short period of time. Then it goes back up to 65, but it's the whole thing is it's absolutely ridiculous because then we create laws based upon that. But that's a whole other conversation for another day.
I mean, bureaucracy are the minions who administer and interpret law and create all these little rules under the law, all these little policy guidances under the law to explain how they're going to apply the law. And bureaucracy has one of their major functions is to protect itself, expand, and get more powerful through more budget and more staff. The best government is one that is starved of money.
Really?
Absolument.
All right. Well,
What about
we'll get into that conversation later on.
Whole
but
nother conversation.
yeah, that's a very broad generalizing.
Yeah, there are exceptions, but largely, yeah, that's a good rule of thumb.
I think that's a very, very narrow perspective.
Oh, I've been called narrow. I just thought I was skinny.
But well, I mean, we could talk about it because we were talking about teachers. And one of the things I wanted to talk about was a lot of teachers have been on camera, or been recorded, trying to promote critical race theory and
Terrible ideas.
it's fucking ridiculous. I actually read through You know what? Let me punch it up right now.
Oh, it's going off topic.
No, this is actually one of the things I wanted to talk about.
Ah.
So just we're doing it live and out of order. From critical race theory. So I was looking up critical race theory on Wikipedia.
You mean you're looking up racism?
Well, I mean, yeah, that's exactly what it is. So let's punch this up because I'm gonna read this.
We brought it back, people. We brought racism back.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing. While I was reading this, I was like, I would have thought that this country wouldn't have gone an entire straight 250 years promoting ethnicism, but this critical race theory thing.
All I know is that Biden, his entire administration, recently got ruled on by a federal judge of some sort that he is doing racist practices.
Yeah, here's the common themes. I was going through this. So, critique of liberalism. Critical race theory scholars question foundational liberal concepts such as enlightenment rationality, legal equality, and constitutional neutrality, and challenge the incrementalist step-by-step approach of traditional civil rights discourse. They favor a race-conscious approach to social transformation, rejecting the liberal embrace of affirmative action. Hold on, Red, but we can all agree affirmative action is stupid. Colorblindness, role modeling, or the next, or merit principle, and approach that it's all the way over there. Approach that relies on political organizing, in contrast to liberalism's reliance on rights-based remedies.
Hold up, before you go any further, can you please explain that in English without using buzzwords?
That's what I was about to do.
This whole entire thing sounds like a legal drafting of some bullshit.
Now, the first part starts off with is critiquing things, which is fine.
Wait. That's a translation for incessantly bitching about everything without coming up with any solutions. Because as an oppressed people, you are owed the solutions by whoever's been oppressing you.
You're jumping kind of outside the lines there, Red.
That's my job, dude.
So, on its face, everything needs to be critiqued, right? If anything can't
But they're not using the word critique the way that is commonly understood. All these words are imbued a separate ideological meaning.
Right. Well, that's what I'm. Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. On its face, everything has to be critiqued, or if you can't critique, if something can't stand if it can't survive critique. But in this case,
what's the difference between lived experience and anecdotal evidence?
You're reading ahead, aren't you?
I'm not reading ahead.
Legit question, dude.
You're reading ahead.
I'm just asking questions.
Gregory, legit question.
No, so the whole thing here is the whole thing with this point here, and I know this is nothing new to disproving critical race theory, but it's just
disproving it. It proves itself.
No. It's
yes, it does.
You're not understanding what it really is, right? So
please explain.
Right.
So I'd love to. I already have an idea of what it is. Tell me what it isn't.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to read this shit and talk about this shit. You people won't shut the fuck up.
Are you being oppressed?
I'm being oppressed.
Help! I'm being oppressed.
I'm being oppressed by the Jewish man and woman.
Damn.
So.
You asked to be oppressed, you subby.
Wow.
Tune in to our Alt Tech Extra for that. So anyways, it rejects affirmative action, which is fine. Affirmative action is objectively stupid. But at the same time, it's rejecting these ideas that you can have a neutral approach to people based on what they look like.
They're not asking for a neutral approach.
Right.
They're asking for a preferential approach
based
on
That's
ideological racial background.
In
other words, Gregory, this is your entry. It's racism.
Ethnicism.
It's racism.
Ethnicicism. Racism is a stupid word.
Potato.
I'm the only racist here because I can't stand the humans. That's one thing I'm doing. It's for myself. Is I'm no longer going to be using these buzzwords in their stupid ways. So I'm not going to say words like racism in place of ethnicism because I'm not too fucking lazy to pronounce that extra syllable.
Does that mean I can start calling myself flesh-colored
Sure.
instead of white?
You are one of many flesh colors.
Use the Crayola term, Gregory. You're either flesh or peach.
Peach. Peaches are delicious.
Or he's flesh. But
Gregory is flesh. He's all flesh.
So yeah, this whole thing is explicitly abandoning the idea that people can be neutral to skin tone, right? And that right in and of itself is the flaw of critical race theory. And this is that right there is the disapproval of critical race theory because it's in mathematical terms it's regarding, so the idea is that it's regarding neutrality as a zero, but in science, zero is not something that is without value. Zero is something that's with value. So if zero, we say it as something to say that something is not there, but the absence of one thing in the physical universe is always the presence of another. Remember I said in the last episode, for those of you that watched the last episode, that psychology is algorithmic physics. So the whole idea of abandoning the idea of neutrality for those that believe that that's what critical race theory is trying to do, that's just false. That's mathematically false. But critical race theory has nothing to do with the idea of neutrality. It's just our skin tone wins, which is by this very first tenet here.
And it's not just skin tone, Charles.
I thought it was my ideas win.
Exactly. I was exactly where I was going to go, because there is the whole notion of authenticity.
All right,
what does that mean? That means that even if you have the preferred skin tone, if you don't believe our ideas, this Marxist crazy bullshit, then you're not an
really
authentic representative of the race. You
No,
are
it
inauthentic.
claims to be Marxist, but it's not really Marxist.
It's based in Marxism.
Well, all right. So let me get through this really quick, because we're running quick. We're spending too much time.
Oh yeah, fuck it.
So storytelling, counter storytelling, and naming one's own reality. Right. The whole idea of naming one's own reality. Oh, that's I see you doing stuff. All right. Explore experiences of racial oppression. Yeah, whatever. Right. Some people get what?
Nothing.
Some people get oppressed based on the way they look. You know what? I was treated like shit because of who my family was. Get over it. Revisionist impressions. Now this one, yeah. Revisionist interpretations. God, I can't see it. I'm trying to.
You can comment on it as I'm reading it.
So here's one thing. So where was it? Derek Bell, one of CRT's founders, argues that civil rights advances for black people coincided with the self-interest of white elitists. This guy is a moron.
Yep.
Because the only advances in the general of any people is in the interest of the wealthy. And it has nothing to do with skin color until somebody can make some money off of it. So critical race theory is just a promotion of the same divide and conquer scheme that's always been.
I swear critical race theory, in my opinion, is just the reimagining of how to claim power. Another way of claiming power.
How to claim ethnic power, yes.
Correct.
It's not even ethnic power. They are making bad leaps of logic as to why
they're making leaps of logic.
No.
How white of you, logic? God.
Yes, and I use math too, and I'm on time for things.
Your whiteness
all of these things
is
are awful.
Far out.
CRT would tell me these things are just...
All right, let's move on to the next topic.
Next topic.
So last on Thursday I mentioned about you not being able to donate blood if you got the doom spell, and I said I might donate blood because then. Or I might get the doom spell because then it would mean nobody would want my blood. But it comes out that the red...
do you have O or something like that, or AB?
I have O positive.
I have O negative.
Oh, well, you're theoretically more giving than I am, except for your selfish cunt.
Thank you.
But,
you very much.
so apparently, I've got more information on this, and this was apparently the Red Cross coming out and saying that people that have gotten the doom spell, that the doom spell destroys the Vidya antibodies, and apparently some other antibodies as well, which also explains why people were getting sick after getting the doom spell a while ago. So,
translation?
Don't get the doom spell.
I would like to make a point that all of the MSMs have told me that I can still give blood after I get the doom spell. I don't know how accurate or reliable these guys are.
I don't know.
There are a lot of news. I looked this up, and there's a lot of news articles saying, no, it's false. You can still give blood after getting the doom spell.
I wouldn't trust people. I wouldn't trust people who whose job it is to screen every blood sample every blood donation that they get in order to be put into other people.
Oh, is that why we've heard stories of people getting blood transfusions and them suddenly developing things like AIDS or other diseases?
Yeah. But no, so but again,
those people are
but again, I mean, you could take the information at your own, under your own advisement. What else we got there?
I've heard about this.
Oh,
lots of rioting down in South
I've put
America.
this shit out of order. Yeah, so there's apparently a lot of riots in Colombia because, oh my God, what a shock! People are fed up with the dictatorships that the U.S. has installed with their country. So instead of coming here to America to try and seek refuge here, they're they're rising up in their country because America's not accepting them. What?
Well, there's also another consideration. You have all those fleeing Brazilians.
Right.
Sorry, I misspoke. Can I do that again? You have all those fleeing Venezuelans who are like, no, thank you, Maduro.
Mhm.
And, the Brazilians have been the Colombians and Brazilians have been very generous in admitting Venezuelans, but it puts a lot of pressure on those governments too, and it may just be enough to tip them over into greater instability.
Well, I mean, this case
Maybe
is
that was the
more.
ultimate goal.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I don't think
but
you're
then
that
again, you have to realize that most of the countries in Latin America exist under the shall we say guideline of the Monroe Doctrine, which, for those of you who don't know what the Monroe Doctrine is, that is from
Marilyn Monroe.
not Marilyn Monroe.
I think we should let them look it up.
Um,
They don't need to hear about that. That
yeah,
stuff was
sure.
unimportant.
That's not important.
Unimportant.
Unimportant.
Marilyn Monroe, everybody.
Mm-hmm. Happy birthday,
Mr. President.
God, I don't know if Biden knows any of that. Or if he would even be able to comprehend if someone did that.
So, let's
He's
see.
keeping more track on this than I have.
May I
Oh,
ask you a question
yeah.
about this? I mean, JFK totally punked on Marilyn Monroe, right? Why is it that Bill Clinton went so far down market, dude, from Marilyn Monroe to the intern? No diss on you, Monica, but why? Couldn't he I don't get it. I still don't get it.
Well,
The intern,
know.
dude.
I don't know.
You could have had a Marilyn. You went
Well,
for the intern.
I do have to say that was the first. That whole scandal was the first time I heard my grandmother use the word slut. But
yeah, blame the intern. There you go.
well, I mean, I don't know what the whole situation is there, but I doubt she's completely innocent. Nobody's completely innocent. No one ever is. Speaking of innocent, apparently there's a whole hullabaloo about potential misconduct in the Chauvin trial. So apparently, everybody heard a while ago that Chauvin was going to wanted to take a plea deal. Well, the more details are
Did
coming
they hear
now.
about that? Because I strongly feel
It was in the New York Times.
It was, but was it front page?
Well, here's the thing. So this information apparently came out before the jurors were actually selected. And it came out, so people were thinking, okay, well, it was the prosecutors leaking to this New York Times reporter. Prosecutor went filed an affidavit and said, no, it wasn't me. So now they're looking at the other defense attorneys for the other police officers that were there. So, as one of them potentially releasing it to kind of throw Chauvin on the bus and make their client look more innocent.
This was last year. This whole entire information came out last year.
Well, yeah, but this is the whole hullabaloo about the potential for mistrial in the Chauvin case. So
I'm still on the fence about where that's going to end up. I
Yeah.
think strongly that something's going to happen. It's going to upset a lot of people, and we're going to get a whole new round of rioting.
well, I mean,
Regardless.
the problem is that with all this stuff, right? This is the thing when everybody wants to tamper with the evidence and tamper with the narrative, insert their own thing, rather than letting justice, letting the facts present themselves. That,
No, you can't let the facts present themselves. Otherwise, someone might win.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Which highlights the point that we are definitely living in a post-fact world. It's very hard to discern what is fact, what is not. What appears to be facts simulate satire so tightly that the Onion and the Babylon Bee, I imagine, are really scampering to come up with material because it looks like they're presaging what's going to happen next.
Well, and just as a point of semantics, I wouldn't say
It's a little bit too on the nose to be satire at this point.
Just as a point of semantics, I wouldn't say a post-fact world because it's more of a wave function that goes in and out of whether or not facts matter. So yeah, there's that. So apparently, here's one thing. Have you heard? Apparently, the word "crazy" is ableist now. Crazy and insane are ableist. So You know, and here's the thing, right? Because I've been having fun watching this stuff, as I'm sure many people have, and we're probably going to cut into our main topic time a little bit here. That's fine, because I want to do a little rant.
No, don't do a rant. Do a rant.
So now you could say that this bothers me because I've been crazy and how I was crazy in the past. So now all of a sudden I have permission just because I was crazy in the past to say crazy now, and it's all fucking horseshit. But I've been calling myself fat even when fat was fat shaming and all that shit. But
I can shame you for being fat.
Apparently. But so
do you get thin if I do that?
No, I'll just eat more because food is my comfort for sadness.
Yes.
But so here's the thing, right? I mean, it was funny for a while, and I was thinking recently, I was like, well, this is, if I really cared about society, this would be kind of a fault on myself as well. Because this whole idea of not saying certain words because you might hurt or offend somebody is really abusive in and of itself. Because we've talked about buzzwords and whatnot in the previous episode on the show, and how some people actually, may actually have PTSD. But a lot of people, when they go through school, because we are under the rule of the medical industrial complex, they get diagnosed with some bullshit condition and on medication, and now all of a sudden such and such thing is harmful to them and whatnot.
That's retarded.
It is retarded.
Or, oh no, should I use a different word?
So here's the thing. So if we stop saying these words in society, then really what we are doing is we are helping to maintain people who have experienced trauma, and with these words being used as part of their trauma, we're helping people to stay locked within that trauma. Because if they never have to get over their trauma, then they get to always be the victim. Now for some people, I'll get to you in a second, Red, because it's a rant. Now for some people, for some people, right, they are scared of facing their trauma and whatnot, but you have to get over it. It's just the way that life is. And I actually said that in my last episode as well. But
keep on saying it.
I'm going to keep on saying it. But the other thing too is, let me put it this way, Red, remember those sitcoms we used to watch when we were kids, and every once in a while you'd have an episode where somebody was sick or just pretending to be sick?
Yeah.
Yeah, that. So,
episodes.
and then what would happen sometimes in those episodes where somebody was actually sick, and then what kind of made the episode draw out?
Peter and the Wolf.
Right, because they say, "Oh, I'm still sick," and so forth. So there is absolutely zero societal benefit to minding your words because somebody's feelings might get hurt because of what they experienced. I suffered from PTSD, and I just shut myself off from the world. I didn't go out in the world expecting the world to cater to me. Why? Because it's not the world's fucking problem. It was my problem.
So, first of all, Charles, you're right on the money on that rant. Let me just start from that point.
Okay.
Now, I was having a curious chat with the HR department at my employer, precisely on this issue, and the question that I raised, intentionally uncomfortable, was, well, what happens to the reasonable person standard? Are you mutating it to the most fragile victim standard? Are we all supposed to assume everybody is some fragile little flower about to break and just sort of tippy-toe around each other?
That's a non-PC term. You can't use that word.
Fucking faggots. Anyway, so the point is...
The whole idea, though, is that it is by allowing people to dwell within their trauma, you are actively taking a part in preventing them from overcoming their trauma, and
requiring that the rest of us support it.
Well, and by proxy, promoting trauma.
Yep, what the man said.
I'm not really certain what you just said, but I am certain that you may have convinced me that trying to reverse my car's mileage by putting it in reverse is definitely a bad idea.
Bueller?
I figured somebody was going to come out with that reference.
I had to.
Oh, man. So that's my rant on that. Did I want to say anything else? I don't know. I can't fucking read because it's all the fuck over there.
A woman!
Let's
scroll down. So what? Oh, we skipped stuff. So what else we got? Oh, so we have the Israel-Palestine thing. So apparently, I don't know if it was before or after the last episode, but there was a ceasefire in Israel-Palestine.
I think that was after.
Apparently, it's okay for at least, well, the mainstream media to reveal all this horrible shit that Israel's been doing over the years. And there's been all these protests. Now, on the flip side of this...
Did they reveal all the horrible stuff that the other side's been doing, too?
Well, they've been doing that for all these years, so now they're just, evening it up, saying...
Right.
So now we got it. Now we got.
Right. I mean,
they've been checking all the scores on the one side, and now it's like, okay, we're gonna add all the.
We got 10 boxes of it. Can we get 10 boxes of it?
But now before I get into the other stuff, so apparently, which is typical because people are fucking stupid monsters. So, this is sparked ethnic quarrels between people, and you've had a lot of people in New York.
Forbid.
I know, right? You've had a lot of people. Now, here's the really interesting thing: you've had a lot of people attacking Jewish businesses and people in New York, right?
Why?
Well, because I believe it was mainly Palestinians that were doing this.
No, but I mean, what does that achieve?
Exactly. Especially because, as I understand it, most Jews in New York are Hasidic Jews, and Hasidic Jews are anti-Zionist.
Hold up. I think they caught on to something. They caught on to something. Now, behind this collar, I have a little pouch. Oh, no, I don't have that.
You're a
actually.
marsupial?
But other things that you should know is that every single Jewish business ever created, there's a small contract that we have to sign at birth that says we must give 10% of all profits to the hegemony in Israel.
But so yeah, I mean, I find it interesting that it's okay to say all the bad shit that Israel's been doing. Yeah, it's clip time. What else did I have here? Except unless you work for the Associated Press, of course, because one of the first things Israel did was they blew up the building that housed Al Jazeera and the Associated Press in Gaza, and right afterwards...
Al Jazeera was there too?
Yeah, they're in the same building.
I've never trusted that media outlet.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know. The name seems to throw me off.
But anyways, so the Associated Press decided to fire one of their Jewish reporters for saying something that was against the state of Israel, apparently so many years ago. But
how suspicious.
What's it called? I have this. This is a clip from an interview done on the Gray Zone.
Okay.
Now, if I had
I think I've heard this.
If I had a soul, I would find this rather moving, but I don't have a soul. But I think it's rather interesting to hear. Okay, let me transition here, and we will punch it up. So this is only a couple minutes, and again, this interview is on the Gray Zone. It's with Gabor Mate, and I'll let him do all the explaining.
I was one of these Zionists. I grew up, at least as a young adolescent and into my late teens, early 20s, really believing in that dream of the Jewish state. And of course, missing from that dream was the nightmare that was being inflicted on the Palestinians to create that
Roger Waters having a
Jewish
drink.
dream. And
Roger Waters from Pink Floyd.
some of you have already said, there was no way to create an exclusive national state for one people when there was another people already living there. So all the cruelty and all the dispossession, it had to happen. And it did happen. And at that time, it was justified as, well, we were so hurt, we were fighting for our survival. Okay, if that was ever true, and I no longer agree with that point of view, if it was ever true, it's certainly not true now. And when after the first Intifada, I visited the Palestinian territories, I cried every day for 2 weeks that I had actually bought into this nightmare, because even then it was horrible. The cruelties, the daily brutalities of the occupation, the injustice of it, the sheer effrontery that I, as a Jew born in Hungary, could land in Tel Aviv airport tomorrow and claim citizenship, where some Palestinian who was born there, whose ancestors were rooted in that land, can't even visit as a former refugee, as a refugee. The sheer injustice of it. And then, I traveled around the Palestinian territories with the medical delegation. These days, when demonstrators in Hong Kong throw stones at the police, or demonstrators in Myanmar use slingshots against the army, The New York Times celebrates them. When Palestinian kids throw at the police, they're stones at the police, they're criminals. Who the army is justified to suppress. I have something in my hand here. I'm going to knock it on the table. This is one of these so-called rubber bullets that I picked up in the occupied territories that was shot at the heads of Palestinian kids. Rubber bullet, it's metal encased in sheer plastic. And so this is how fair that fight is. And so when something like the current situation happens, what people never hear about is the daily background. Daily, Palestinians in Gaza were marching to the border, demanding the right of return. Now tell me, if I have the right to return, having been born in Budapest, with my ancestors maybe 2,000 years ago having lived in the Middle East, why doesn't the Palestinians have a right to return? But when these Palestinians demonstrate peacefully, they're shot and killed, and their deaths are not even recorded in the newspapers here. So my heart really hurts when I see this happening. And people out, if you support the Palestinians, you're a Hamas supporter. No, you're not. But Hamas is nothing compared to the terrorism of the Israeli government. We're talking about a government that was capable of killing 20,000 civilians in Lebanon in 1982. And then we complain about Palestinian terrorism? So what's lacking in this conversation is a complete lack of perspective. One does not have to support the policies of Hamas in order to stand up against this injustice. Nor does one have to support the policies of anybody to admire the resilience of the Palestinians as a people.
So, before I'll let you guys comment in a second, but one thing he goes to say on later in the interview, and once again, you can go watch the full interview at the Gray Zone. It's a really, really good discussion between him and Roger Waters. And Max Blumenthal and Aaron Mate. But he says something that I say also, about the Israeli government and it's just an observation of any people in general, right? Mm-hmm. So whenever somebody goes through some kind of trauma, how likely are they to inflict that same trauma on somebody else and try to use the same justification? And that's always been my problem with the Israeli state, is because the government there, that's what they've been doing for the past many years.
So I have issues with people that sound like this. My issue has always been is why. So it's explicitly when someone flips their opinion to go from one side and then they suddenly become all on the other side.
Right.
Is that somewhere in between that person loses the understanding of what was already happening and sides, it seems, completely with the new team they've chosen to support. Okay?
Yeah, but see, in his case, let me interrupt you for a second. In his case, I don't think he's actually flipping sides so much as he's discarding an ideology.
I get that, but I also see I see a lot of people who if they suddenly see there's more injustice on one side versus the other, they start ignoring all the injustice that is being caused by this side that they're now supporting against other people, and they also I find that they tend not to call out the injustice that is being. I don't know anything about this guy.
Again, this is only a clip, so
I get you.
There's more to there. Red, do you want to weigh in really quick before we get to the next topic?
The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, it's been going on for a long while. And something that really sways me very much is the fact that there are 28, 29, 30 Arab-Muslim, combination states along that ilk. Millions of Arab Muslims in other countries as well.
Right.
There is one Jewish state, and that's one too many. Well, so wait a minute, I'll finish my thought. So there already is a Palestinian state. It's called Jordan, and the Palestinians have been given numerous opportunities to establish their own states in the West Bank and Gaza in different shapes and sizes along time. And I think it seems to me that the conflict, the continuation of the conflict serves very well for Hamas, and it serves Israel as well. And I'm rather surprised that the Palestinians have not observed that every time they do this, Israel just continues getting stronger and continues gathering more territory. And it's the old Einstein definition of insanity of keep on doing the same thing, expecting different results. It's like, when does the learning happen?
Well, we'll end this conversation with a question and get on to the next topic. And that question being is how legitimate really is any ethnic theocracy? So, so we want to get to this last bit of stuff before we get to the main topic. We're running a little over on time, and that has to do with mainly the vidya, right? We can skip that. Yeah, the doom spell.
The doom spell. Although, let's make a quick mention of this.
Okay, so yeah, so because Epstein didn't kill himself, so apparently the two guards that were guarding Epstein, they took a plea deal.
They got a sweetheart deal.
Well, here's the thing, though, right? Because if their crime was in my purse, actually, if their crime was only changing the records.
Only changing the records?
Only that?
Well, I mean, if their crime was really slacking off and changing the records, right? Then what else can you really say? So it's the question of how justified is the quote unquote punishment based off of what happened? Should the punishment be based off the action, or should the punishment be based off the consequence?
I don't know. What I do know is that if it was any other situation, and it was any other individual, I'm almost certain that these guards would be serving prison time of some sort. They would be fired in some way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they were fired already, but or at least I heard that they were put on some sort of leave of some sort. My biggest issue is that nothing that seems to be happening with these guards indicates that they're actually taking it as
right, because
as seriously as it actually is.
Because the thing is, shirking responsibilities and falsifying records is nothing new.
Everything seems to. What's that phrase? It sort of seems it's surreal, but it's like it's beyond the pale or something like that. It doesn't make any sense to me, because it always seems that in certain types of situations, dealing with certain individuals, that somehow they get lesser charges, or they're not prosecuted in ways that you would expect the average individual, who is not this person, to be charged.
All right, so let's see what else. So YouTube's changing their monetization policies. So if you get demonetized, so you can get demonetized for your content not being advertiser friendly, and then YouTube will decide to run advertisements on it. Great.
Good.
Twitch is demonetizing a lot of the hot tub streams, not because I talked about Amaranth, but they're apparently demonetizing a whole lot of the hot tub streams because it's apparently not advertising friendly. Again, I will just defer to how stupid the business policy is of YouTube and Twitch and so forth.
They have no business policies.
Apparently the Twitter offices got raided by the BJP.
Yes! I heard about this.
Wow.
In a show of force, which was really, it was just really stupid and
But there
nothing.
was nobody there.
There was nobody there, yeah. So apparently the whole thing was that one of the BJP's tweets got fact-check tagged because they were calling something from one of the Congress members a COVID-19 COVID-19 toolbox or toolkit or something like that, like the things that you're supposed to respond to and whatnot. I don't know, it's a whole lot of bullshit.
I'm hearing a lot of good news in India. Ever since ivermectin has been advocated for there, numbers have been going down.
So since we're talking about the video, and that's what we wanted to end off with before I get to the main topic, so apparently OSHA tells employers that they may be held liable for any doomspell mandates that they have put in place.
They also...
But disclaimer, maybe.
Maybe. They also said that they're no longer going to record the adverse reactions that occurs from them asking an employee to get the doomspell.
For employers, this means in part that the safest workplace is the one where the employee works at home.
I don't know about that. The plane might crash into it, and then they'd be held liable for that. Maybe.
Nah.
Well, I mean, or
It's
it
not an OSHA condition.
might have a bomb on it in the case of that one Russian reporter that was on a flight from what was it, Bosnia? No, not Bosnia. Was it Bosnia? Bosnia to Lithuania, and he got pulled over.
Doesn't even matter.
And then the military came in and took this guy off, and all he was reporting on riots.
What's most important with regards to the doom spell is that if you get it, you can get free wine. You can get drunk.
More food to make you fat.
Get more food.
If you get the doom spell, you can get stuff that will make you susceptible to dying of COVID, and not just the doom spell.
Absolutely. I've heard 3 other states, including Ohio. I believe Georgia is part of it. Colorado is coming up with a new thing already. All of these states are advertising, get the doom spell, you can win a lottery ticket for some amount of money.
You get the doom spell, and they'll pay for your funeral costs, apparently.
It is absolutely hilarious. I'm amazed.
But
they can't sell this.
But
they can't sell the spell.
You are not a true fan of what we'll just say Nike if you don't get the doom spell. You don't like Nike products if you don't get the doom spell.
Yeah, but if you like Nike product, you're supporting China, which is terrible.
Oh yeah. But,
interesting news. If you're a fan of Starbucks, don't be alarmed, but you might be 11 times more likely to be vaccinated.
Oh, that's what it was.
Starbucks.
Yeah.
And if you like Taco Bell, and this comes as no surprise to me, but if you like Taco Bell, you might be 7 times less likely to get the doom spell.
Yeah, because you know you're going to shit out any virus anyway.
Here's my unorthodox hypothesis. If you're a regular Taco Bell patron, you're likely clearing your GI tract pretty regularly, and that should probably clear your system of Rona.
But there's that, or if you're buying from Taco Bell, you've not yet quite understood why it's that you have to go to the bathroom every 5 seconds.
Yeah, that'll cure the Rona right there.
I think the people who are eating at Taco Bell, and don't get me wrong, Taco Bell has wonderful crap tacos. Okay? They're not real Mexican food, but they make wonderful American fast food that tastes delicious. It has no nutritious value in it.
They're Mexikish food.
Yes, Mexikish.
That's hilarious.
I like Taco Bell. I don't buy it very often. I maybe buy it once a year. But sometimes you get that craving for that awful food.
I go for the high class garbage, and I get Chipotle.
No. Chipotle is lower than Taco Bell. Chipotle is here. Taco Bell is here. Moe's is here.
My GI tract is seizing up listening to this conversation.
PolitiFact. So
yes,
apparently, PolitiFact removed their false information warning over where the virus may have come from.
Yes, they quietly walked it back. They didn't tell anybody about it. And
they
all
never
these
do.
other MSM outlets, Vox, MSNBC, other places that I can't think of right now, they're all quietly doing stealth editing. If you don't know what stealth editing is, it's when a news company has an article up online, and they know you're not reading it for quite some time, and so they just and they change words so that way it's more suggestive and ambiguous of things that they previously had said.
What do you got, Red?
Again, props to all those like military grade autism people looking for this stuff, documenting it, and sounding out the alarm.
Absolutely.
Love
you. You can find this stuff online. If you look up, I think, stealth edits online, probably even Reddit, you might be able to find someone talking about this. Because
man, these people are amazing.
The collective conscious of the internet
is
smarter than an individual person in 5% of all cases.
All right, so we got more stuff about Dr. Fauci because apparently he was promoting AZT, which was the really bad drug for the AIDS epidemic.
I thought Dr. Fauci was walking back all of his statements that he made last year. And
that too.
Did you know he's a TV doctor? I knew he was a TV doctor. As a TV doctor, Dr. Fauci is always 5 days behind the news cycle. So just remember, the next time you see something Dr. Fauci says, just rewind TV back 5 days and see what they were saying then. Because generally, what he says follows what they said, and not the other way around.
And apparently Sweden is...
That's called leading from behind.
So is that like your farts propel you forward?
Something
No.
like that.
Oh. So apparently Sweden is what, they're getting rid of the PCR test?
Yes, I'm not certain why they're getting rid of the PCR test.
I can think of some
although
reasons.
I can tell you why I wouldn't use the PCR test to begin with.
Why?
The PCR test is not a test. It is a confirmation of a. As far as it's been explained to me,
It's
and as
another
far
it's
as I've
another way of
understood-
confirming it's something that another test has already come up with.
correct. So
Which is why it should never been used in the first
if a
place.
doctor sees that you have all the symptoms of what might be some disease, they will do a PCR test on your genetic material, so that way they can see if what they think is happening is what's happening, and they will use it as a confirmation. This is what many doctors have said, is that they will, these are just your average doctors, they've come out and said that PCR tests are typically used to confirm, not to diagnose.
Yeah.
And over the past year, the PCR tests have gone from them using cycle rates of over 35 a month.
Which will detect
Almost
you'll
anything.
You'll have bubonic plague at that point.
Absolutely. Many doctors that I've watched and read have talked about the fact that if you're going over 35, at that point it is unlikely that any result that you get will give you real information about what is actually happening. If it is under that amount, then it's probably more likely that something is happening in the person. And so they were up to like 40 or 45 in some cases. And I know in Canada they were questioned by doctors on a panel about this, and they didn't come up with real answers.
Meanwhile, the IMF that also wants to kill you.
Yes. they have a plan to spend $50 billion in the next few years to get 40% of the population vaccinated. And their goal is that by I think 2025 they will have a net gain of $5 to $9 trillion from this 50
Now,
billion
I wonder if
spending.
they've taken in the CDC's decision that the getting the doom spell is going to cause heart problems in the young people.
Oh, definitely not. No.
Oh,
Israel's
okay.
doing something on that too, you know.
Oh, yeah. But the other thing, which leads us into our topic of the day, which we're finally now getting to only 15 minutes late, but people using whether or not they've gotten the doom spell on dating apps, which this is something that I see because I browse Tinder just to affirm, just for my confirmation bias on how
Remember,
society is shit.
If your future fuck is not vaccinated, it's likely that you didn't see them because they are 3 times more likely to show up in results if they are vaccinated.
Don't raw dog somebody that's been vaccinated apparently because they will spread the antibody killers to you, is what I'm going to
This is
say.
going to be the next AIDS scare. Oh my god. Oh
I mean,
my
they already tried to make it that. I mean, I remember when it was called Grid.
Now, all of these dating apps are teaming up with the Biden administration to help you get to an appointment with the doom spell. And interesting enough, the Biden administration has chosen to ignore one very important app. I'm not going to tell you which one it is. It's Grindr. I did tell you. Oh, shit. I find it very interesting. That's the one they chose to ignore.
But
They seem to be all about the inclusivity and everything.
Inclusivity. So yeah, so I mean, like I said, I browse Tinder and whatnot, and it's oh my god, it's such trash. But every time I see vaccinated, no,
No, you're supposed to swipe right on everybody
left.
and see how many of the ugly people respond to you.
No,
It's a
that's
game.
what it is.
You take a shot every time someone responds.
Yeah, but fucking oh my god, I am so glad that
Wait, you're presuming that people are going to truthfully report their vax status.
That's true. Also,
They could have a vax profile and a not vax profile.
Tinder has its
I
own
wouldn't go
form.
through the effort. It seems too much.
Tinder has its own form of blue check mark as well. You just have to take a picture or like this or something like that, and
Why?
it's just to verify that you're not uploading somebody else's because they have you take it on the spot.
What if I do?
No,
this?
it'll be like some random pose that they want
What
you
if I
to
do this?
But and I've said this before. Tinder, dating is just not.
Recommended?
Yes, that's an understatement.
It's really funny you talk about dating. I love going to New York City, or at least I should say I did love going to New York City.
Uh-huh.
I haven't been to New York City proper in a couple months. Not for any good reason or another. It's just I haven't found the time
Nothing
to
about
get
it is
out
a
there.
good reason.
No,
Oh.
absolutely not. But in my adventures through the city, I came across a church, except it was no longer a church. The front half of the church was now a gym.
Oh.
The back half of the church was a gay bar. And I found it hilarious just because...
Wait. They were partying in the rectory, Gregory? In the rectory? Right there? Right smack in the rectory box? Dude?
I don't know if we went into the rectory or if we went into a basement area, which is even worse.
I mean, just in general, I mean, from the time that we were kids, dating has changed so much. I mean, it used to be... I mean, I remember when I was kids, like, oh, you go on a date or two with this person, you know, you date around, right? And eventually you pick somebody to go steady with. Now it's you go on one date and then a week later you're having your 1 week anniversary and you're on your way to getting married and all this bullshit.
No, you forgot all you forgot all the intermediary social media posting.
Oh yeah, changing your relationship status on Facebook.
I think if I was dating someone and they were doing all that, I would say, I'm sorry, we can no longer associate with each other, period.
What would you do with the new pics, though?
I'd have to delete them.
What a gentleman.
But, so, I mean, it's just, you know, and it's good that we have both male and female perspective on this because it's just trash anymore. I mean, at least from a guy's perspective, dating is such trash because you see all these laws in place that are just so, disparaging towards men. I mean, sperm jacking has become a popular thing.
Sure.
Right.
So has cucumber thrusting.
No. This is steal your sperm, get pregnant, and then
I'm even less informed on this than you are.
Yeah, you're on the hook for child support. And
Charles, you need to explain your favorite solution for that. Highly recommended.
Get a vasectomy?
No, the other one. Tabasco.
Oh, no, that's not my solution. So, yeah, I tell them the story about this radio host I heard this was about 20 years ago, in the Midwest. And he would carry around Tabasco sauce with him. So whenever he had sex with a woman, he would go into the bathroom, he'd take the condom off, and he'd pour Tabasco sauce in the condom and then toss it in the trash. And every once in a while, he'd hear the woman would go in the bathroom afterwards, and he would hear her screaming in pain.
I.
Oh my God.
Because this guy, I mean, he had money, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, yeah, not my solution, but
I'm not in this dating scene right now.
yeah, I mean, I'm so glad I'm divorced now. Like I said, it's so different from the childhood expectations. Even that you just expect people to just be fucking people. Now it's all like everybody's got a fucking agenda,
and way past that.
And and I was talking about our on our War of the World's Words. Like critical race theory. If you see somebody, if I now, like, I'm an asshole, so if I saw somebody who was like, oh, I'm all about critical race theory and blah 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 blah, and they were attractive, you know what I would do? I would
run the other way.
No. I'd sleep with them, give them the greatest night of sex of their life, and then they're like, oh, you're gonna call me later? No, because you're superficial. You believe in critical race theory. # sex in the shallows. I would just go out of my way to find all these fucking critical race theory people and all these SJWs, sleep with them, dump them right away, and say no. Why would I? And just flat out tell them, why would I want to date you? You are as shallow as the fucking waiting pool.
Shallow, toxic, fucking poisonous.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I love men. I respect men. My favorite food group. Okay. And you cute little protein bar over there, but
meanwhile, I'm a protein shake.
Shake it, baby. Not too frothy, okay?
Okay.
But I borrowing the perspective of a male, not that I can strap on and all of a sudden have these insights, but just imagining, I don't see the point. It's just too hard, too dangerous. You're automatically to be presumed in the wrong. Mm-hmm. Of course, you're the predator. You're the oppressor. And these bitches then wonder, why can't I find somebody to marry me and have children with me? And it's like, because you've already established that you're really not worth poisoning the gene pool any further. Just get the fuck out of here.
Anytime I see someone who has too much makeup on, I'm like, that's the shit.
Well, see, that's one thing. Like, me, I can't stand makeup.
I can't stand makeup either.
If a woman wears... Now, listen, I can understand where, like, if you want to have a look, and that's your thing, too. That's fine. You know, I don't knock the person. I don't knock a woman for wearing makeup. If she wants to wear makeup, it's fine. But it's just one of those things where it's not.
I'm
for me.
not big on makeup. I'm not big on the fake nails.
Wait a minute.
That shit.
Have you seen these Asian makeover videos? I mean, it's fucking frightful. You have these cute little anime shikses shaking their shit, and then they start pulling cotton swabs out of their nose and peeling tape
I was
on the
talking
sides of their faces and their fucking necks, and they become these fucking moose things.
I was talking about how in
Oh my God.
China, it's fashionable for the wealthier women to bleach their skin to look more white. They look fucking creepy as fuck.
Who wants to look more white? You become albino at that point.
I know, right?
Dolls are very frightening.
You know, and one thing I've always like. So for me, like I'm not much one for the physical appearance in general. I've never have been.
That explains a lot.
Oh, harsh.
Well, so here's actually. I think I have it here.
Prepared. He's prepared, people.
Don't say anything before I pull it up, Red. Let's see if I can pull it up.
Oh my God, you're so cute.
Okay, she said it. Let's see if I can find it here.
You wanna show me this?
Cute AF.
There we go. So this is me when I was a kid.
you.
That's me when I was a kid.
No, that's not you.
No, I see it. I totally see it.
Okay, I see it, but that's not.
So this is me when I was a kid. Blonde hair, right? And on the other thing too is that I could sing. So I used to get all this
Angelic.
attention. I used to get all this attention.
From priests? Was it in the rectory?
No. Wait, look at the picture again, Red. My hair's not parted down the middle.
Charles, wait a minute. Did they do you in the rectory?
No, so I've got it from. So I was in a Presbyterian church,
Oh,
and I was around.
is this the story?
I was around a lot
Should I
of.
call a lawyer?
No, I was.
What's
I was
his name
around
on
a lot
YouTube?
of older people, mostly older women, and I would get a whole lot of, oh, your hair, look, you know, I wish I had hair like yours, and
Give me that picture again. You're
and,
so cute.
and you're gonna be knocking them off with a stick or beating them off with a stick and this, that, and the other thing. But the thing I couldn't stand is that the majority of the attention I was getting from the people was based on my looks and based on the fact that I could sing, and that was something that kind of informed me early on to never date beautiful, right? And it's not to say so much that if a woman is beautiful.
Bananas red pilled you, dude? They black pilled you. Oh my God.
Well, it's not to say like you never want to date. Well, you always got to be. I will say at the very least, be cautious dating the beautiful woman or the gorgeous guy, right? Because when you're getting that treatment all the time, it does something to you. And
Sure. That's,
you know,
that's a problem
and it's
with
not
almost anything.
right. And it's not necessarily. It doesn't really say to them as a person, but it helps shape them as a person. So that's why always as a rule, if there was a woman who was like, "Wow, she's beautiful," that was like, "Nope."
I'm not
Never.
a fan of too much positive reinforcement. I think
it hurts though, Gregory. Here's the thing. As a kid, I never heard ever until like I was like in 6th grade, 5th grade. I never heard a positive thing about my appearance.
well, I'm not saying that you never get positive reinforcement.
Wait a minute.
Well, I'm ready.
Never. Then I went to a plastic surgeon. My parents took me to a plastic surgeon in fucking 5th grade to address.
5th grade.
I know.
What are you,
to
Princess
address-
Vespa?
I know, right? To address a scar. And there's a plastic surgeon, Fibonacci sequence proportion bullshit thinking going on, and informs my parents, you know, she's actually a good looking kid. And they were very quick to agree. And I remember sitting there and saying, what the fuck? You've been holding out on me. Like this little hole in my self-esteem has become something of a gaping gap. And I still remain unsure and uncomfortable about it. But you've been quiet. So there's a Goldilocks zone.
Right,
You can't
yeah.
go over, you can't go under.
Right, and that's one thing I try to avoid, because people, you know, it's just natural human behavior to kind of fall into this trap of, oh, everybody's giving this attention to me, you know, regardless of whether it's based on your looks. So that's why I would never, if I found a woman that was beautiful, I would just avoid her, get rid of her, do whatever, stay the fuck away from her if I found her attractive and whatnot. Now, and that was at the same time, right? Like I say, for me, it was always the quality of the character that was always the more attractive thing. And
It's always what I'm looking for.
My ex-wife, she would always get on me. She's like, "Oh, why do you never call me beautiful and this, that, and the other thing?" I'm just like, you don't understand what I really value.
But Charles, you also mooed at her. That was not a big plus.
That was her own fault. She would keep eating all the carbs and then bitching, "Oh, I think I'm getting fat now." I'm like, "Quit eating all the carbs.
She needed more protein, Charles.
Yeah, well, I tried
She needs
giving it
to
to
follow
her.
the I Love Men diet.
I gave it to her a lot until she started causing some bullshit. But no, but and that's one thing. Like my ex-wife and I, right? Even in our relationship,
In your ship?
yeah, in our relationship, it was we got together mostly because she pursued me.
Why did she pursue you?
She saw that picture of him as a kid.
Probably. I don't know. I don't know why. I guess really, I'm not going to go too much into personal. That's going into a personal life, and I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. Let's
Really?
honor her confidences. Talk high level though, without sharing details.
So, but the thing is that when we got together, right, the whole relationship was mostly us just really taking advantage of, or not taking each other for granted.
That's not good.
That's not good.
gonna
Yeah,
lead to,
and for
bad-
me, the marriage and everything was more going through the motions and whatnot, because I'm like, all right, well, this is what you're supposed to do, right? That's what, I was always, I subconsciously found myself slipping into that narrative I was told to follow as a kid.
Autopilot without the
Never
content.
follow the narrative.
Well,
man.
no, I wasn't. It was a subconscious thing, because consciously at the time when I was being told all this stuff as a kid, like, oh, a woman's supposed to, you need to find a woman to cook for you and clean for you. And this. I'm like, why the fuck can't I do this shit for myself? Why do I need a woman for this shit? But I found, oh, well, I'm with her, so you marry her and blah 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 and this, that, and the other thing. And for me, it was just going through the motions, and that's not a healthy relationship. And
Nope.
And for her, I think it was a lot on her part too. She was just going through the motions, and I don't think I was what she really wanted, and I don't think she was really what I wanted. But then again, for me, I didn't really want anything.
You climb Mount Everest because it's there. That I understand.
Right.
You don't marry the shit just because it's there.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I mean, I've always been kind of a person like, oh, okay, you're here, and just hang around. But then at the same time too, like, and not that I want to talk bad about her or anything like that, but she had lopsided the pop culture ideas of what marriage was and everything like that. It's like, oh, it's magic. It's always constant magic. This,
Very
that, and the other thing.
Disneyfied.
And I'm like, that's not what marriage is. That's not what a long-lasting relationship is. A marriage is somebody that you're choosing to have as your roommate, that you share finances with, and you occasionally have sex with.
I always thought of it in terms of you're forming a business union with a partner whom periodically, hopefully regularly, you're fucking.
Yeah, I mean, and then eventually you decide that maybe you're going to create smaller, shittier roommates.
Oh God, that's the pits.
That you're going to have to be financially responsible for and educate and teach things. And and this is one of the things too. Like I said in the last episode, a lot of people will have kids just because they say, "Oh, I want to be a dad," or "I want to be a mom," or "I want to have a kid."
I don't think a lot of people understand really those concepts. I would say I don't even understand really that concept.
Even if you think you're prepared, you're not.
Well, no, but my thing is like how much of that goes into the whole idea of finding somebody just because you want to be this thing. And one thing I said in the last episode was that if your desire to have a kid starts with "I want to be a parent," then you're immediately fucking up, because the first decision involving this independent being's life is to please you. And that's one thing, and that's one thing that also drives problems in marriages, is that when all of a sudden, oh, hey, the kid's got a mind of its own. So,
yeah, they're different people.
That's a general problem with people overall, is that they, I mean, especially with bosses, is that they, oh, my employee has a mind of his own, and can't have that.
Yeah, but I mean, like, and the other thing too is like you have this whole "fat is beautiful" movement.
Oh God,
You're
no!
Notice
right.
now. Here's
No,
the thing.
it's not.
No.
Knock it off.
Well, listen. Here's the thing that is the most hypocritical about it, right? Because like I've always said, well, in movies you always see like these anorexic starlets and whatever, and
That's
and
not okay
and
either.
I'm exaggerating. I'm using hyperbole there, but
Thank you.
you know, you have these ideal bodied stars, actors and actresses and whatnot, and and then they're playing like the homely one, like even what was it yesterday? Red and I were watching The Enchanted Cottage, and you still had this really attractive actress who was looking homely for the part, but at the same time, you know, I always wonder why you never use real people, like people that.
Well, that's not what movies and all these fictional things are about. They're about they're trying to get an idealistic idea out there. They don't care about real people. They care about what is an ideal.
What is the
version of
fantasy,
this.
Gregory?
Right,
Okay.
and so that gets carried over into the dating world, and this whole thing is like, even if you notice all the women that are being propped up with the whole fat is beautiful thing, these are still women that, if they were thin, have the features that would be considered conventionally attractive.
There are some women.
Well, hold on, let me finish on this, because it's an abandonment of that. There's beauty in something looking, even a person looking plain, and you see that, like I said, you look at all these women that are like, oh, the fat is beautiful and so forth. They're not plain looking. They're the traditionally beautiful stars, stars and starlets, just with extra pounds thrown on.
I don't know about that. No, I don't think so.
You disagree?
I do not think the people that are being put up as these fat stars are the traditional.
No. What I'm saying is, if they were thin, they would look as the traditional.
Absolutely.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
Because it is impossible to know what they would look like if they were thin, unless you had a picture of what they looked like before they were thin.
No, but you can
It's
look.
hard to say what they would look like at all.
Well, no, because you analyze like where the fat deposits are. You analyze what the bone structures are, the spacing between the eyes, the way the nose is, the chin. This is all stuff that you analyze. And actually, Red mentioned the Fibonacci sequence. You got me saying it now. Quit playing your fucking MMOs.
I didn't do anything, man.
Quit dragging your MMOs to this fucking chat or to the podcast. Red mentioned the Fibonacci sequence, and that's actually one thing that people find the most attractive, because that's like it's a whole ratio thing, the golden ratio. Mm-hmm. What are you going to say, Red?
No, I was flipping you the bird, motherfucker.
Oh, okay.
What I was going to say is that not every large woman is unattractive. It just so happens, though, that most large women are unattractive, much like most large men are unattractive and unappealing.
And even that's even a cultural thing as well, because in like Hawaiian culture, usually
Samoa.
fat men were
What I'm saying
fat
is
men were considered attractive.
There are large people that do look attractive. Okay, it is a rare thing. Just like any body type that looks attractive.
How much money's involved?
Yeah.
No. I'm talking about there are people that are large that are attractive to some individuals.
Agreed.
Okay? There are also some people that happen to have that little bit extra fat, and because of the way their body is created, it does look attractive to a majority of people. That is a rare thing, though.
Yeah.
Most people who have the extra pounds on them do not look attractive to the average person. The entire movement itself is stupid. It's based upon a lie, in my opinion.
Well, the lie is you're supposed to consider people beautiful for having this certain characteristic.
But that's not.
And then it abandons the whole idea of just accepting people as they are.
But the movement is not just that. That movement is co-opting the movement of this person is attractive. You cannot say this person is not attractive. Mm-hmm. And that applies to not just people who happen to be overweight. This applies to anyone who says that if someone, like with the trans movement, the fact that they say, well, if you're male and you're not attracted to this trans female,
woman.
I should say, you're wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the movement is co-opting. This entire movement is just grabbing all these other things together, and they're saying you're not allowed to not be attracted to people. that you don't find attractive.
It's all bullshit.
It's all bullshit, and I was just thinking how much of it is a continuation of people following a societal dictate of what's supposed to be attractive.
I mean, think about
it's all about that.
But it's a continuation.
Gregory, you brought up trans women, right? They frequently, not always, but frequently exemplify the most outrageous, far-out stereotypes, historical stereotypes of what a woman
get that
should
out of
be.
here.
That's to be celebrated in a
awful
trans woman. But if a genetically X chromosome woman engages in these far-out, crazy stereotypes, well, she has internalized the oppression. It's like there's no consistency because it's not about consistency.
Right.
It's about driving ideological change. It's about breaking down what
It's a
already
power
is.
move.
Exactly.
Yeah, an ideology.
It's a bad power move, but it's a
Yeah,
power
exactly.
And
And we need to
remember-
call bullshit when we see it, when we smell it,
Well-
when we step on it. We need to wash it off the sidewalks.
Remember
and
that
move the fuck on.
ideology is strictly against any kind of logical criticism. So,
Clue 1.
final thought, Red.
Yo, final thought?
Yeah, final thought on relationships.
Relationships. Can't live with them, can't live without them.
What do you got?
Relationships suck.
Well,
All relationships. My family, my
I
friends.
don't like you.
There's people I think I might want to date.
I love you guys. I really do. I love you
That
guys
doesn't
so
mean
much.
our relationship does not suck.
No. Wait. Our relationship is about fucking board gaming and bullshitting around this podcast. I love you. Fucking eat it.
Okay, I guess we're going to be eating it. So my final thought is, well, I'm already a misanthrope, and I am so glad I'm divorced, and I am so glad I'm not going to ever
Divorce is highly recommended.
Yeah, we've known somebody that actually got the quote unquote male treatment of divorce, but is a female.
Oh,
So
really? Oh, that's a shame.
yeah, it's someone we know that lives up north.
Oh, okay.
But what's it called? Yeah, so I guess that's it for this episode.
What are all the complicated ones?
Shit, where was it? Gonna look up what was our next episode? Do you remember what our next episode is, Greg?
No, I don't.
Make it up.
I'm looking up really quick. Our next episode is yes. Our next episode is Con the Notation.
What?
Con the Notation.
I'll
Okay.
let you, the audience, figure that one out.
Yeah, so tune in.
You
for
already have them looking up the Monroe Doctrine. Is this even fair?
Yes, yes, it is. This is how I treat everybody.
Oh,
This is how I treat everybody too. Fuck you guys. So tune in for the next episode, or not. Fuck you either way.
Remember to find us on Locals, BitChute, Minds, and Rumble to check out our alt tech extras. And with that said, once again, I'm Greg.
You read it beforehand.
I did. I wouldn't have read that, even if I saw it afterwards. You jerk.
Yes. And I am Charles.
Remember to never question,
Never ask for proof,
and always believe what you're told by the news and politicians.
no matter what. Now go back to sleep, fuckers. Good night, fellow human. You'll wake up tomorrow to cause more destruction and bring much more sorrow. You'll go out and smile and pretend you are good, but once you get crossed, you'll don a black hood. You'll maim and you'll rend, all while you pretend that you are some kind of hero. You can't face the truth, and you'll stay aloof to the fact that you're a zero. You'll sit and stay glued to a spoon-feeding tube so that you can believe you're the best. You'll obey and be bribed by a campaigner's lies. All throughout the COVID murder fest.